Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. It's Shirley with Spirit of Matter here with the Midheaven on 28-29 degrees Cancer and the ascendant around Spica. So I'm going to call on Spica for delivering the right information in the right way. Okay, sort of like to deliver a message without making enemy, stuff like that. And Procyon for sweetening, okay, the words. And this is not because I have something terrible to say, it's just the alignment of the stars that is open right now. And of course, because we have Mercury sitting pretty on Algol, although Algol is in her minima today, she's eclipsing today, but I'm going to spiritually call for Algol spirit to remediate and to protect the truth and to bring the truth and the wealth of truth and being present in our body, in our energy, and so on. So this is a Saturn day, and Saturn is also ruling Aquarius, which makes it affiliated with Uranus, and I'd like to hone in on that. And this is Jupiter hour. Jupiter is right now in Gemini. Let's talk a little bit about the Saturn-Uranus, because I really like to walk around and take a walk and just associate what comes up in my mind or what comes up in my videos along with the astrology, because you would be surprised it works. And I was thinking about kind of like the journey of astrology and the place of astrology in my life, and how the only constant is change. And with astrology, it has been a constant in my life because it's constantly changing, and I don't feel like I have to lose authenticity to do astrology. There are many ways to tend to this. Yes, perhaps this is why certain beings have tried to take away astrology from me, which is the most stupid thing to do for them, because then I make revolution. It's what I did before. Every workplace I made revolution, and with astrology I just do it my way, and I pay great reverence to the people that came before me and my teachers and the people I learned from, even if not officially. So yes, better let me do something that is keeping me a good civil person. And then I was thinking about that I haven't done a Saturn video in a while, and right now Saturn is in Jupiter sign, so look, in Jupiter hour is a good idea to do that. And so I want to talk about phases of Saturn, so kind of like current teaching for the Saturn in Capricorn generation. So this would be extremely valuable for you if you or one of your loved ones, your partner, were born in between 1988 to 1991. Those are the years when Saturn was in Capricorn. Alternatively, that would very likely be the 2018 to 2020, sorry, 18 to 2020, for when perhaps you have little children, but this is not going to be so relevant for them now, simply because the life passage is pinpointing a part of this transit. And I'm talking about the Saturn maturation, which is basically when you turn 35, 36, and this is right now happening for the Saturn Capricorn generation. So those are the people born between 88 to 91. And what is the Saturn maturation? First of all, this is a concept taken from Vedic traditions. One of the people that do Vedic astrology on a tropical chart, I think is unique. This person that's doing teaching that is Ernst Wilhelm, from whom I heard from Lada Duncheva. And he was a teacher of Lada Duncheva. And in general, Saturn maturation, a great Saturn teachings that I also want to get updated by is by Ksenia Moore. And she's kind of reviewing newer view of Saturn. She has a very interesting life story as well, so I highly recommend. And Saturn maturation is basically when a planet matures, that thing that this planet rules in your life is coming to fruition, but there is also what people call a karmic test, or you're required to show proficiency at that. And Saturn is very compatible with this world with these words because it denotes of the type of karma that means what I'm doing up until a certain point and what are the results of what I'm doing. Okay, so let's say I'm growing my garden, so I'm trying all kinds of things with how I spread the soil and so on and so forth, and then there is the result. Okay, what of what I did was useful, and it's never 100% science because Saturn is also in context with other planets. Right now it is in Pisces, and a Saturn maturation time is very much, it's not like a Saturn return, because this is a Saturn sextile to the natal Saturn. Okay, it's not the first sextile, it's the second sextile. So those who are having the first sextile right now, those who are born with Saturn in Capricorn in recent years, that are only a couple of years old, less than a decade, then yeah, maybe for them it's like going to first grade or learning to be a little bit more mature. But for 35, 36, it requires for you to deal with things Saturn. Now, what is Saturn? Bureaucracy, taxation, debt, responsibility, the R word, which unfortunately can sometimes be that for people. The way your father, your teachers, your gurus, for example, for me, for Saturn maturation, I had to take my own route. Okay, I had to say, okay, I'm no longer a student of astrology enthusiast. I'm an astrologer, which is of course shocking for your surroundings, because you take on a role. And at the same time, I was learning aromatherapy, and I was even encouraged to say I'm holistic health practitioner. Okay, I had to take this title. I was no longer a student, and to start applying all of my knowledge in practice and adapt to things. And so Saturn maturation can be about studies. It can be about any sort of responsibility. It can also be about the teacher, the guru, the father, and how they have affected your life. Saturn, yes, is about the dedication, commitment, depending on what Saturn rules. Where is Capricorn in your chart? That would mean which field of life, and where is Saturn in your chart? For now it is Capricorn, yes, but can also be, yes, if it was not Capricorn, then I would say where is Capricorn, where is Aquarius in your chart, because Saturn is ruling Capricorn. And so for right now, for the Saturn Pisces transit, which means the Saturn Capricorn generation, I want us to think about the connection, the harmonic connection between Capricorn and Pisces. If Capricorn is climbing the mountain, climbing up the ladder, okay, Pisces can be the corruption needed, but also the compassion towards this path, okay? The Pisces Saturn could be, for example, compassionate towards the Capricorn Saturn, because the Pisces is the depth of the ocean. It sees the all that is. And this is why Pisces can be so annoying and so evasive, because they see the all that is, and so you can't put them into structure. Okay, they will, but on the other hand, they know to adapt, and they have deep wisdom, and they're always very compassionate, or not compassionate. Okay, that's another. Okay, they can be suddenly cold and discompassionate, because it's the temperature of the ocean, the temperature of the water. It is the all that is. Okay, and what do we know about the person that the type of Saturn that is the all that is? It can't be held accountable. So when you, the Capricorn Saturn, are coming to your Saturn maturation, this is where Saturn is checking your karma. Okay, what did you did by the book, what did you did not by the book, what needs to change, what doesn't need to change. And the Pisces Saturn, you really don't know what you will get with it, because it contains the all that is. So if it is criticism, yes, this too. If it is compassion, also that. And so there is a certain harmony and acceptability that the Saturn Capricorn receives from the Saturn Pisces, that allows for this maturation process to be less crisis. Okay, it's not a Saturn square Saturn. Okay, and this is important because for Saturn Scorpios, some of you have gone through the Saturn maturation alongside Saturn square Saturn. Okay, and alongside Saturn square Uranus. But again, but now you're ready for your Pluto squares. However, for the Saturn Capricorn, okay, that's going through the Saturn maturation, it's happening right now as Saturn is in Pisces, and this is more like the sextile. And this allows you to have a less of a crisis embarking into your title, your authority, your command. So for some of you that might mean becoming a father, for some of you that might mean, or a parent, that might mean the connection with the father, okay, taking up some of the authorities that your parent had, and this is also legally. For example, your debts, your how you manage your money, how you manage your long-term investments. Okay, for some of you it may be very useful to ponder around with me and be aware of that all that isness. Okay, I'm very likely ascendant Pisces tropically, and so it might be very useful for you to listen to my financial videos. They might, not because I'm a financial advisor, but because those thoughts and those reflections can be very useful information for you right now for what you're going through, and they can even be helpful from various points of view. Now, if Saturn Capricorn is very classic climbing up the ladder, there's some in wherever Saturn represents in your life, this is where you did something by the book, climbing up the ladder. Okay, I can tell for me Saturn was let's say academia, and so when it comes to scientific arguments, I would study the topic scientifically and would argue scientifically by the book. Okay, which made my life a bit difficult because I could not allow for other things to affect. But this is also why I'm so confidently talking about, let's say, the political involvement in medical field, which is going to be very relevant for you, because I already did by the book. What is medicine? What is philosophy of medicine? What actually does heal? I went through my own process of healing. What does help me? When is oil helping me? When is other things helping me? When do I need something more than to take some substance and do some meditation or to make change in my life? What is happening? Okay, I studied the topic by the book, not in the sense that I got my diploma, but in the sense that the scientific argument is by the book. I went to what is epistemology, what is ontology, what is relaxed standards for empiricism, what is, okay, I have this current, what is possibilianism, okay, what all these things. So when corruption arises, it falls like a tower of cards next to me because I stand still, because I got the Saturn that did these things in a way that challenges everybody that would try to tell me this is science. I say, but this, but that, but that, but that, but that, before I will get to, hey, where are you? You're funded by so-and-so. Okay, now I'm learning that you're funded by so-and-so in my Pluto square. And so Saturn in your life, for me again, 9th house. So worldview, religion, studies. When it comes to studies, is yes, nobody who does something that is not aligned with studies. I'm not talking about innovation because I definitely am inclusive of that. I am innovation. But when somebody does monkey business and say science washing, okay, they don't want to run into me. They don't want to run into me. I will not knock them down by where you found it. I will knock them down by from this field and from that field and from that field and from that field and from that field and from astrology. This is the picture. Now, they're only scientifically, the paradigm, the theory that covers the data the best, most economically and most accurately is that you're funded in a way that is a bit corrupt and that is biasing your science, okay? That's the power of going through this Saturn maturation. Now, wherever it is in your chart, this is wherever you have matured. This is wherever right now you're going through this kind of a karmic test or a trying time that you take on this authority. Then now you know how to deal with that. Now you have this, to establish this authority is going to be very difficult to challenge unless there's genuinely a good reason for you to be challenged. Okay? When I was going through my Saturn maturation, it was my Saturn square, and Saturn was also squaring Uranus. And so I had to challenge the notion that I just have to find another place, another topic I didn't study, and when I learned that about myself, my relationships would improve, my this would improve, my that. No, there is a social revolution to do. Okay? I cannot Saturn my way away from this. Okay? I cannot be a good student and that would be sufficient. That actually needs another type of recognition, another type of approach. But other than that, you're not so easily challenged, and it's not because somebody's trying to, let's say, take your place or compete with you or take you down. It's simply because with the Saturn place, you're also an inspiration, a paternal figure, and a teacher of teachers, okay? And this is true regardless of anything genderic. Some people can see you like father figure when you are a girl. It doesn't matter. In your feminine, in your everything. It doesn't matter. Saturn is this place where you go to for understanding how was it done before. What is the wisdom of the generations? What is traditional wisdom about this? Even when we make revolutions, okay, we look what scientific revolutions were there before. So we have something to lean on when we try to predict the next revolution, when we understand that we are the next revolution, when we understand what to expect. Okay, this is how I can come at Elon Musk and say publicly on X, if Elon Musk had Tesla running on Tesla, would he be assassinated? Is that why we don't see Tesla running on Tesla? Okay, I can do this because I studied the things relevant to that. Whereas some other person, yes, they would... yes, say maybe corrupt, maybe this, maybe David Icke, maybe so, maybe that. Yes, and, well, do we have the structure that allowed for non-corrupt vehicle to be on the road? I tell you that we don't. And I got a father that did car engineering all his life, an uncle that's the driving teacher. Every time I drive by the bus, because I myself don't have a driving license, and I know why. I don't want to be with these crazy drivers. Every time I drive by the bus, I hear another story. Okay? I know how these buses are created, I know what these cars are made, I know what the challenges to be making this energy, to transmute the energy, why do we have a solar van is easier than a solar car. I know these things. Yeah, we don't have a running car on the road without corruption. Okay, this is why you don't see Lightyear 1 on every road, but you do see electric cars. And it's not because Elon is corrupt or doesn't have creative ideas. It's because if he did Tesla on Tesla, we would be assassinated. So what is you only good scientist, only good innovator is dead innovator, only good businessman is dead businessman? Okay, this Saturn sextile, you are required to take your role, to take your lead, so that you stand for something. Now, what is Saturn in Pisces doing? Okay, Capricorn, climbing up the ladder. Easy, classic, whichever letter it is, even if it is relationship, even if it is your 7th house. So maybe it is to be married right with the right person, or with a commitment style that fits you, and it's not just one commitment style in the world. and to own this structure. Okay, to own this structure. Yes, I mean open marriage. Own this structure. That can also be a form of Saturn maturation for you. Okay, and so even if it's 7th house, okay, there's a place where you're climbing up the ladder in whichever field. Now, there's the question, what is Saturn in Pisces doing? What is the maturation about? So Saturn in Pisces is actually is very satirical. It's trying to create structure in the lack of structure. It's the certified shaman. It's the certified astrologer. I never understood what's a certified astrologer. We study something that's very like chaos theory, but instead of big equations, we have the positions of the stars and the alignment of the changing of the stars, and everybody's still arguing about that, the houses, the this, the that, and we argue, okay? But very much like medicine, it is more art, and science itself is art and the science, okay? So what is certified astrologer? It is wrong for me that people will come to me to think I'm certified. Certified, I see your chart, I see a chart, you are a whole person. I say, okay, maybe this, maybe that. You tell me if it's relevant to you. I had once I gave a reading to a person, actually from your generation, that had Pluto position, my son, and he was just checking up to see this and that, and I said something, he said, no, it's not at all compatible to me. And I said, later I see, so I believe him. So indeed, he was telling the truth. He was not coming to play with me. What I said was not relevant. It played out in a different way to him. Or maybe I said something too deep that he was like, what the fuck, I just tell her it's not. Okay? Which is okay, but it's not for me to decide for you who you are. No certification can give you certification to do that. If it can, it's not certification, it's oppression of you. Okay? And so, the Saturn in Pisces, you want to know that you are getting a kind of a karmic appraisal. You're asked to be held accountable for the role, the way you've climbed up the ladder. Okay? And so you can take on the title. Maybe some things need to change, maybe this, maybe that. Pisces is about the place versus no structure. So let's say you are certified in something. Pisces is showing you the lack of structure to the place where you thought structure exists. For example, let's take arts. Let's say it's an easy one, okay? Because Pisces is very malleable, imagination and so on. Let's say you have had a degree in holding like museums and auctions in art and so on and so forth. And then you've taken certification test, and now they ask you about why is this work of art budgeted in the auction in that way and not that way. Now, of course, for no reason. This is art. And of course, you cannot say, because this person is that sect of the cult and they have this agreement and that person is not, that is that lodge. You cannot say this. Even though you and the person testing you are sitting same in lodges, but you cannot say this. You have to say something. You have to invent something. Okay? But you are expected to invent something, and the person who tests you is expected to give you the okay. This is why it can be a bit easier than other transits, but not necessarily. Because Pisces is the older it is. Let's say it is taxation, okay? So somebody, you're held accountable for your accountants, okay? And so sometimes that depends on your attitude. If your attitude is trying to hide and so, you could meet someone that can bifurcate in various ways, can say, okay, I'm very strict with you because I see that you are lying and I must hold you accountable. On the other hand, you can run the person who's more compassionate, but also you can say the truth. Yes, I did this, I did that, it's not okay. One of the great examples that I've seen for this, two examples, one was Steele Swan, the other one was Maren Altman. So they both were going to Saturn return, I think, yes, and they both were accused of plagiarism. And so because of the competition is very great and they have to support their own survival and housing, yes, and they said, yes, I did this, I did this, I did that, I'm sorry for this, I'm sorry for that, I'm sorry for that. And that was the time where they had to hold themselves accountable and completely change the way they manage in life, or to take the relevant lawyers, and then they could keep the title. Steele Swan still doing her own thing, and Maren Altman is doing both her own thing and music. So that was yes, another example for where you're being held accountable for how you climbed up the ladder, where you ask to correct the things, but it's not going to tear you down. Okay, it's not going to tear you down. Yes, when I was going to my Saturn square, yes, that shit was to tear me down completely. I was literally no housing, no support, no this. None of this system worked, and now I had to tell myself, was I crazy? Or was I just not having housing? Yes? Was I sick in my head? Or was just I not having housing? Am I a disease? Or did I just did not have a place to be without corruption? I had to agree that I'm not so cuckoo. But there has to be a way for me to be without corruption. And that was, yes, I saw in the street people say, we will take care of you if you take this prescription or if you take that drug. So if I take this drug or that drug, I will have only representation. Doesn't mean that it would help. But night out of the street. Whereas if I don't take drugs, and I'm privileged enough to not take drugs, you have to be privileged, you have to have the ability and to have the accessibility for the head space where you're still not completely fucked up by the torture that was done to you in order to not take drugs. If I have this privilege, then they say, oh, no, we must deprive you of this privilege if you want housing. So for housing, will you take? I said, no. Yes. So that was the Saturn square. It began with Saturn square Pluto. That was the Saturn square. It completely torn me down. Everything I've been swiping under the rug, I had to say, no, I cannot go by I am cuckoo anymore. I'm cuckoo, give me degree. Okay, it wouldn't work, but I can also not go to work. For the very reason that I said, okay, I've agreed to call myself cuckoo, just give me that or give me studies. That's a square. Now you're going to a sextile, it's not the same. Nobody's going to tear you down, nobody's going to take you from you. Yes, highly unlikely that there has to be another something for this to happen. Now, for those of you who have Saturn conjunct Neptune, this is what I want to say to you. There's another planet playing role. It means that the Saturn maturation is triggering what we call in mundane astrology the dissolution of the communist regime. And I'm getting like a pyramid with my fingers. Kind of like the diamond shape that Beyonce does. That one, okay, the collapse of this. So Neptune in general, Neptune in Capricorn is the way that the medical field, the channeling, that the invisible realm has been involved in a very physical climbing up the ladder that takes spirituality from a very structured point. So they would ideation of that. Again, horrid example for me, I have Neptune in Capricorn natally, is that when I just started doing screenwriting, I noticed that I only do write when I'm supposed to be doing something else. And so I put tablets against headache on the table. I said each time I get up, I take a tablet. So I will either write or die, okay? Saturn rules death. Neptune rules film industry, and I was doing screenwriting. And this is cuckoo. So to work is cuckoo, yes. To do this is crazy. No, I did not kill myself with pills. It didn't work. I had a Persian cat that just sat on my books and decided that I'm going to pet him now. And maybe he saved my life. So that was the way Neptune can be weird. Okay? And now Saturn Neptune can give a little bit of that form of extremism, or that form of the invisible present with the visible. Why can I just work? Why can I just do what I'm supposed to do? And Neptune, you have to surrender the structures in your life. Neptune Saturn sign can also relate to the father or guru that is either missing, or you had to surrender something about a relation with them. I grew up with one parent, is the way that it took form for me. And so that is, there's just anything structural. It can also mean your debt, your investments. Okay, there's something you have to surrender. Neptune rules liquid assets. We have it like the 8th house. Neptune rules liquid assets. Saturn rules your life insurance. So think about your life insurance being liquidated. Okay? It doesn't sound pretty, but at least you know where it's coming from. Okay? And so the sextiles again triggers the conjunction. So the trouble you have in your life, if you are having the conjunction, okay? There's more, the 89, 88, I think, are the ones that had it the hardest. And if you are having the conjunction, the problem is not coming from the Saturn maturation, okay? The problem is coming from the Neptune that conjunct your Saturn. So what I want to tell you about this is that, why is this important? Because you're like, surely if I'm dying, it doesn't matter to me what from. If I can't do about it anything. What I'm telling you is that with Neptune, you have to surrender the topic. But with the surrender, you are aware of what is, there is a great longing in you for something. And you will find that you manifest and receive that in mysterious ways. What you long for, you receive in mysterious ways. But there's a great surrender to what ways, and a surrender of that longing. You have to first become aware of the longing. What am I longing for? Surrender to it. And then something like a miracle happens. And Neptune rules miracles as well. Okay? And this is, we are in the age of Pluto sextile Neptune. So you're going to be moving between helplessness to taking your power. And it is where we need to move alongside the parallels of being in our power and surrendering our power. Okay, which makes for dedication, or for anything you want to be successful at. Okay, there's a great deal of surrender. Okay, there's a great deal of dedication and work, or hard work, or whatever. Yes, but it's also rest, must be, otherwise you will be cuckoo. From experience, I say this. But there is also surrender. Okay, you plant a seed. Saturn rules agriculture. You water it, and then you surrender. You allow it to be, and you surrender. But it's good to be aware of the longing, and that longing is invisible. What you are receiving, if it's in your 7th house, I want to tell you something. Surrender the type, whether it's monogamy, not monogamy, surrender the type of commitment style, because Saturn rules the ring that you are having. If you're Cancer ascendant, this is ruling your 7th house. Or if you're Virgo ascendant, Pisces, your 7th house. Surrender the type of commitment that you're with, but it's more relevant for the Capricorns, okay? For the Cancers, where the Neptune is in the Capricorn with Saturn. And admit what your longing is, because you might receive a longing for someone who's not your partner. I must say this, and you must allow this to be, because otherwise it will be mysterious and kept secret, and you would lie about this, and this will undermine you, because you weren't true to your longing, your deep longing, your deep desire. Desires and longings counter to what you've been taught. They have a telos to be met. What you desire has a telos to be met. So you can't swipe your dreams away under the rug. It won't happen, okay? And Neptune also rules isolation, because in isolation we surrender the power structures in our psyche that disable us to meet our longings. Why is it we have addiction? Why we long for the eternal and we don't admit our longings? And there's genuinely something missing. You surrender into this grief and something meets you in ways unexpected. Okay? A great ideation can come with that, because people can look for a savior. But if you surrender, you see that actually by miracle, things do come to the right place. And sometimes, especially for you now, what you've been building for so long, it seems like you have to surrender it in some way. And we don't know in what way will you receive it, what you're longing for. It's particularly important if you have had, I want you to think about what were your dreams and longings and desires when you were 5 years old, 6 years old, where you said to yourself, I want to do that, I want to be that. Because again, this is the age we're going back to with the maturation, okay? It's 28 years from Saturn in Pisces. This is where you were. 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, at those ages. What were you longing for to be? Because if you haven't become this now and you've become great at something that your inner child did not want to be, Saturn is going to swipe what you swipe the rug underneath you. I have no choice but doing what you love. I've been telling this to people my entire life. I'm going through the Neptune square. I see that I've had crises, whether social media, whether this, whether that, this is shadow ban, this is this. And then I began to write what everybody told me to write already. It's beginning to happen. Okay? And for many of you, if you have been children that had to support financially, that had to take realistic steps for security, Saturn is going to take this structure of security and say, that's it, Neptune. If Saturn didn't do it by itself, Neptune is like, hold my Heineken, okay? Let's spill the beer. And then, again, I don't want to take away from the acknowledging the grief of loss, of experience of grief and loss that do take place at this point when the Neptune conjunct Saturn is triggered. Dissolution of is basically what the people call in politics the breaking of a dream. Okay? And we're heading to another conjunction like this with Saturn conjuncting Neptune in Aries. But this will be after your Saturn maturation and towards your Saturn square. First of all, pay attention, because this will take place in your Saturn square. It's like right now you're getting a more harmonious encounter with these energies, and then whatever you didn't do on the sextile, when it comes to square time, okay, if I can take what squares I have my Pluto square right now, and then go into my Neptune square. So Neptune is dreams, okay, whatever dreams, whatever longings I had that I didn't fulfill in this life, I'm no longer allowed to live this life without tending to it. And when it comes to Pluto, yes, whatever taboo topics I didn't deal with, whether it's my own passions, fields of studies, things I didn't tend to, things I thought I have no right to say, or teachings I have, or whatnot, or power figures I thought that what's between me and them, it's now like on a silver plate. Just do the studies, okay? When it comes to power, when it comes to wealth, when it comes everything on a silver plate. You get this video from that person, that on that, or on X you can comment to everyone and they have to see this, and they're interested in that, okay? They respond to that, and this is where, again, what I was swiping under the rug in terms of power relations, now it's like no longer. You're stepping into power. Step it into your own power. Okay? And so with Saturn right now, is less the worry, but because Neptune conjuncts it, there can be loss, there can be grief. Wherever you have been untrue to your inner child because of life circumstances, because you couldn't, because you didn't find a way, it is all true. You're not to blame for what happened to you, or you're not to blame for your history. But also this is a time where you're reminded by the universe that you're not allowed to fear for so long without doing something about this. You're not allowed to fear. For me, for when it was the 7th of October, I understood all this, the things that a person is afraid to happen to them is happening to people. What, am I going to live my life and not say these things and not do these things and not live? Okay, so those reminders are kind of chipping away at the solid structure, the by the book, the climbing up the ladder, the social networks that you made that are of pyramid form. I guess that's why I got the diamond, okay? Those type of structures, okay? Neptune is whatever, but also whatever in those structures was relevant to you, was true to you. Also, you're not allowed to not to break away from the structure, but to break away from the authenticity to you too much, okay? And one of the ways to get out of toxic relations, okay, outside of like actually having a place to be, and to stay out of toxicity as much as possible in this world, is to acknowledge the good things I had with this person, the good things I had with this structure, the good things I had with that dysfunctional situation. Why? Because otherwise I'm going to miss those good things and forget those good things, or think that I have to pay a price of not meeting these good things. As I go, this is the gaslight they try to sell you, okay? That if you sold your freedom for food, you don't deserve a food or free. You deserve a food, you deserve of life. There is enough food, there is enough freedom. It's just bullshit and it's bogus. It's got nothing to do with responsibility. It's got everything to do with corruption, okay? At the same time, there is such a thing as I have taken a decision and I'm whole with my decision because the decision I've taken is in alignment with my heart, is in alignment with what I came to do in this life. Okay, when I took a step back from academia and began to do astrology and experiment with channeling, I knew I'm taking a step forward. Now when I see what's happening in the academic world, I'm in Harvard, in Oxbridge. I see people that went, maybe a bit younger than me already criticizing this. I see what's going on. Yes, I'm like, oh my God, the FOMO of not having to, have gone to an Ivy League is what seemed like a loss then, that I'm not able to financially support this and so on, is now like, oh my God, I went through a lot in my life. At least I didn't have to go through this. And you might feel it with the Neptune conjunction as well, but you don't notice at the moment. Something falls apart dissolves, and is grieving. I want to say this usually because it's a sextile. I don't know, but many cases where there is a death of, let's say, a father figure, a teacher, a guru, or partner, or sibling, depending which house it is, that Saturn denotes here. There can be, yes, it's not impossible that there is such case. That being said, also around the Saturn maturation, by the way. That being said, there can be, with the grief, and I'm not here to ignore the grief, there can be a certain form of connection that opens up in ways that's way more intimate to the world, to the dreams, and for some people, even to the loved ones, okay? Many people I knew, actually before my own Saturn maturation, I met several people that their father passed away, and they started receiving messages, mediumship, and then they had to learn how to navigate in this world, and they started receiving mediumship from not just their father, from all loved ones. Also, another person began to be clairvoyant, and they say, I'm seeing bank accounts of people, things that I'm not supposed to see. And that was, yes, another interesting thing that happened to them, but they began to try, and then you have to navigate this world, okay? You're not going psychotic. So I want to mention that Neptune can bring such experiences, both if there is grief or death, but also mediumship. And if you grew up in society or in religion where you cannot practice this outside of the church, or this is not scientific, or this or that, then I want to say to you, first of all, that this exists, that no, you're not psychotic, you're not imagining. Neptune realities are blending, okay? So I can tell you the message from love, message from someone who is channeling from a right place is coming, is a message that's coming always with love, with compassion, with humor even. It's not a haunting place. Those things are not okay. So for you people, some people manage with these spirits, or they appease these spirits, and everybody has their own way. But message that's coming from you that is correct for you is a message that is loving, okay? And also the message of authenticity, message of truth, because people, when you cross over, there are many things that people think about what happens and so on. I'm a person who is flexible in their view. I don't believe that people who commit suicide go to hell. I don't even believe that people who did horrible things necessarily go so on, as it is congruent for me that the gate to accessibility to do good choices in our life is not blocked for us, and there's no reasoning to block. So some people view it as Christ consciousness. Okay, I'm different than the Egyptians, I guess, in this way, but you don't have to hold my point of view. And this is where I can say I got channeling of how to, with my presence and my camera, or my cell phone, to be in a certain place where the person doesn't feel so okay to grab a child or kidnap a child or to do something to a child. Just this presence I got from people that perhaps in their incarnation were not as close to this topic or able to perform for this topic as when they crossed over. So it's both survivors and people who are of both sides of these situations. So yes, this might also be useful for you. You're not imagining, okay? You're not imagining. Mediumship can arise. Setting boundaries, Saturn, setting boundaries in realms that are not the usual realms. It can arise. Especially now, I want you to understand that your collapse, because you might experience certain collapse, is happening to you and is involving things that are of Neptune, of generational and of hidden. So secret societies, secret pyramids, secret cults, secret religions. This is spies. This is also Neptune, okay? Perhaps your father was assassinated because CIA, and now you have a loss in your life and you don't know where it's coming from, or you suspect it's coming from, then I have to protect yourself. So for this, I recommend the Imagination podcast for targeted individuals, survivors of such things. All the things that you thought was conspiracy theory and was nice to watch in the X-Files, and you find out that the X-Files was a documentary. I liked the standalones when I was an X-File with the PH. And so, yes, but then I found out that the mythology was a documentary. So, then this might happen for you. If it is your 12th house, if Saturn Neptune is your 12th house, yes, more so. All the things to do with mediumship is even more prominent. So those are tools that you can use to set boundaries in the realms that are not the physical things, and understand how they affect your ability to climb up the ladder. For example, I had no idea that there is such a thing, that people will gather up to do magic to make an individual not succeed in their work, with their health, with this. And I was like, what, the people have nothing to do in life? But if you work for a job you don't like, or if you work for a job you do like, but the conditions of work are not good, then you don't really have a way to break out. Okay, for me it was give me that or give me studies, but for most people it's that more tolerant than I for some levels and less extreme in other levels. Then they have nothing to do. Then they speak with each other. Let's do this, let's do that, let's see if that works. And that can happen to. I had no idea such things can happen to people. And for me, I don't ask who, what, this. So I return to the original sender. Don't involve people who are not, don't involve children, don't involve this. Just return the energy. If I don't know how to alchemize it, return it to sender, shield. If there's something I need to learn, information I need to change, then make it accessible for me. So if I'm a better person for myself. And that's how I deal with that. And then, I see readings and that and say, oh, there's synchronicity. Oh my God, that's what they did. This is crazy. I wish them all good luck and well-being, so they don't have to do such things anymore to anybody, because this is really stupid. Okay, this is all I can wish, because what can I wish, right? But you might now encounter this, and this might be an actual issue for you that you didn't know existed. Some people would want to do that, and so learning a return to sender without involving, people who don't need to suffer from this might be useful for you. And yes, the Saturn in Pisces is in the field of the spies, the shamans, the healers, the astrologers, the miracle healing, and the gaslighting of healing as well. The blending of realities, the artistic sign. So for some of you, it can be even credits for, let's say you did in your branding, you took something by someone, and you didn't fret over it, and apparently it was not free to use, so now you're being sued for that. So or copyright, all these things, and then you have to adjust, okay? Or maybe you have to lose a certain something, and you have to adjust the things and grow. Another thing, it can be, yes, we talked about spies, surveillance. Yes, we covered that. Another thing, those things can be about, or leaking. I've seen that happening to some people. So leaking, perhaps private conversation, leaking this, leaking that. And in which case, again, this is where the C factor of compassion of Pisces also comes into place, because this can be a situation where now you have to present a certain explanation, and you will see that you maybe wanted to leak this, to talk about this, so that people will understand. And now certain information leaked that you have to explain yourself. So finally you're able to talk about this authentically. Okay, but it may feel very triggering. Yes, I'm going through my Neptune square Neptune. I remember when I was sexually harassed, yes, but with energy, yes. Then the way for me to deal with that was like, okay, I didn't like this sex. Here is what missing for me. I like this. I didn't like that, and try to treat it like it was an act where the person was trying to please me and it was not this, and trying to kind of amp it up. So of course they could try to use this and say, oh, she wanted this, she wanted that, she wanted. Nobody's coming to tear you down. Nobody's come to blame you. It's just understanding if you did something from the cult that it was psychic attack and you basically made the person me, decentralized, so that and I had no place where I could heal. Of course you suffer the consequences, okay? And whatever leaking, whatever that, but you will have something of the similar nature where something is leaking, but it's not like it doesn't have explanation. It's just that you thought that people will never understand that. You thought that this is a facet of something you cannot talk about. You will be surprised. At this point, you will be surprised how much you can talk about. People are talking about SRA. People are talking about psychic attack, about targeted individuals, about gaslighting, about this case. So everything is prepared for you to begin to make these connections, and you're not crazy for making these connections. And those who try to make you look crazy for making these connections, they hide in skeletons. You better bet that they're going to leak as well. But if underneath there is a place where your 5-year-old, 7-year-old child wanted to do something else, okay, and what you're doing today is kind of bridging, okay, trying to bridge between that and that, then you're asked to take a step further to your dreams. Yes, in academia, I was enjoying academia, everything, but I had to take amphetamines, found it difficult to concentrate. There was something missing, something creative. Then what happened to me? Me too. And the only way for me to deal, because I needed to speak in order to heal, but I also didn't want to litigate, I didn't want to accuse, I wanted to heal first and understand what bothers me, what genuinely bothers me, not what society says bothers me, what is the problem? And to heal and to grow for myself, for being an individual. So the only way to speak was, and I couldn't do it to my dear diary, it was involving outer planets, and so I wrote a satire. For I said, if they're going to take me to court, at least it will be ridiculous for everybody to dare in this situation. And so that was the issue, okay? That was the way I dealt with it. But eventually I was suppressing the inner writer in me for way too long. And why was I suppressing the inner writer in me? Because after having gone through sexual boundary violation, I felt that I cannot write a story because people will think it's true. And if I cannot write truth because people will think it's story, then I made satire. And I have an upcoming project, this new moon in Gemini, that is celebrating on that leakage, story, truth and fiction and rebellion. And I see it's going to come up when it's going to come up, but it also celebrates astrology as well, which has become a prominent part of my life, more than just an escape place. Okay, so it's actual place. It's not a place that's keeping me from doing what I came here to do, but it's actually enabling. Well, for you, you have to check this. The loss that you feel, the dissolution of your structures, what comes out of it can be a form of artistic dealing with things that you would find therapeutic even, because Saturn right now is in Pisces, so it's from Pisces. So we said leaks, we said loss, we said grief, we said crime to do with drugs and medicine. Has this been involved? Were you investing in, let's say you could be investing in pharma, Okay, and now people think people invest in pharma today are like evil, and so no. Sometimes you had the person that had, let's say, cancer, and they were healed, they got over cancer. So now you will invest, okay, you will always give donation to those who helped your loved one heal, okay? What you don't know is that these companies sometimes have things that kill people, okay? Now you are learning all there isness about this type of whether investments or the field, how has it been affecting your life, your loved ones, and so on, okay? For me, during my Saturn maturation, was also Saturn square, I was met with a chemist who broke Seroquel, which is antipsychotic, that was long release. She was not supposed to cut. She knew it. She was a chemist. She was cutting it in half. I said, why? And she said, I cannot with the side effects. So the chemist did such thing, so irrational, because she tried. This is not side effects. There's something else going on here. And indeed, this is what Stella Assange called slow-mo execution. So some people, they put them in jail. Some people, they give them these pills, which they force them to take. Otherwise, they get no housing, no this, no that. It's another form of slow-mo execution. And there's always people who had some sort of something with violence that they saw, witnessed, or chemists. Who knows what they know? And they don't connect the dots. So I said medicine, I said drugs. For drugs, for example, if you take weed, so for some people they have PTSD or pain or cancer or something like that, and the weed that they sell from the government, what is allowed, is monkey business. So they have to go to the dealer to get actual weed. Okay, I know this case happened in Israel. Is a nation of CPTSD for the war and for other things and so on. So they think Gaza is an open air prison. Let me tell you something. Okay, we can't blame the Palestinians for that. So we got the money, we got the reason, we just don't do it. Startup nation. So that is yes, that's also the truth. So people had to go to the dealer to get the actual weed. For when they go to the government, it's not the correct type. It's not really. It's monkey business. And so you get a drug dealer. It's more reliable business than the pharma. And that can be the case, okay? You might have needed to consume that. Maybe your clients needed to consume that. Maybe your patients needed to consume that. And so this is how all that isness of Saturn Pisces plays a role in the sextile. And with Neptune, there's a certain sort of loss. Okay, for example, if it's like what I said with the weed, you might be involved with such thing, and they will say, this is corruption. You take them to drug dealers when we allow it from the government. Then you have to expose the corruption. And you're like, I'm not going to try to deal with these big pharmas. I'll give you the phone of the dealer. And this is it. You buy from the pharma, you buy from the dealer. Once in a while, you buy from the pharma, so they will say you take these things, so they won't disapprove for your this, and you go to the dealer, they will give you the correct stuff. And then it's exposed. Now you have to say, what could I tell my client? Okay, what could I tell my patient? What to do? Okay, I'm not a lawyer, and if you are a lawyer, then you can say, I'm a small lawyer, what can I do for this big company? Yes, I do this type of litigation or that type of litigation, but I have to, because this material is not working, but what the drug dealer gives is working. Now you have to say it. You have to say it in court, you have to say it in a committee, you have to say it to the people. And you always wanted to talk about it. It's like, no way, me with all these big pharmacies, no way I can take on this mission. Now you're required to. But it's going to be fated, okay? So all in all, I want you to be aware of what are the themes, okay? Medical welfare, drugs versus medicine, and the corruption both with drugs and with medicine, spine leaking, liquid assets, liquiditating assets. You want to pay attention for when the World Health Organization tries to guilt you into liquidating your assets for a certain medical operation, or for maybe you had tax evasion because you didn't want to donate to enable democide. And so maybe for that you had tax evasion, and so they're trying to guilt you into liquidating your assets, your life insurance, so that what you gathered in your life you will have to liquidate that. For sure, they're trying to do it with both changing the coin, the social credit score. Okay, they're trying to make liquid something is not liquid in essence, or it's not supposed to be. Okay, your housing is not supposed to be liquid. Your right to have, yes, a land where you can grow some crops, and fertile soil, not supposed to be liquid. Your right for transportation, okay, not supposed to be liquid. I heard from elderly people where they had a car, they had to renew the driving license, and then the optometrist begins to trade with them. You see, if you do this type of glasses, then I give you approval. No, that otherwise we need to check this, we need to check that, maybe surgery. There's not for often nothing. And for older people, that was yes, very sarcastic and funny, but they had to detour and they had to pay like protection to get their driving license back for no reason. So all kinds of monkey business they do, but with human body. And this we also need to know. Yes. So where does this meet you? Okay, because you get in, and there's something. There is something that you surrender about the way in which the karma comes. But also there are miracles that come to you. You just have to surrender the way that you receive the healing. So if you had a certain fear in your life, by miracle, you might face this fear and find a cure for something. With Capricorn, again, it's all the issues of climbing up the ladder. Maybe you genuinely wanted to do agriculture. And so, yes, and perhaps now it's like, well, there's food chain problems, food this, food that, and you have to surrender something, surrender your job. So now you rehabilitate yourself by gardening. Then so I grow some tomatoes, grow some this, I grow some that. And that can be the case. And then when you eat from what you grow, then it can heal you. I was noticing when I'm growing, let's say, garlic, or when I grow geranium, or when I grow tomatoes, something in my life is growing together with this. It was fantastic to see. And that might be the case for you. Okay, it's like you lost your ability to do your job right now, but then you take on gardening. Is something that you want to do. And by miracle, things happen. When I started taking amphetamines, I was taking it for concentration. Then I saw I can make conversations that are emotional with this. And then I said, oh, I will take it. I will learn some astrology. And then I began to process my traumas. I wasn't expecting this, but it's a drug that is close, is one step away from MDMA. I didn't take MDMA, but for MDMA I have this love buffer that allows you to emotionally process things with love. So for emotional flashback, emotional traumas, it can be very good, or the emotional aspect of trauma. Maybe it can be very good, but then, people say you have to have the setting of someone you trust. Usually trauma involves a lack of trust. So... yes, this is just the nature of this Saturn-Neptune. What more can be? You said bureaucracy, so it can be something not taxation, but bureaucracy, to have the right documents for something. And that can be, whichever documents this is. You have for Jupiter, when you need to travel, maybe passports. So those can be a thing, and then you need a certain document for that, or you can't get a document, and so there is a certain loss, but then by miracle something else happens. Okay, so it's almost in a miracle way, something else happens. You could be getting unexpected teachings, unexpected assistance, unexpected help with bureaucracy from hidden realms, or from people like me that are, doing videos such as this, and you ran into that, and who is this crazy person born in 88, 89? Oh, that's me. Okay, what they have to say. Oh, shit. That's fucking relevant. I'll bite their French. So that might be the case for you. Okay? So other things, context. You want to look at what is the Saturn and Neptune doing in your chart. What aspects, and this is the personal planets, one aspect for sure that you have, if Saturn is conjunct in Neptune, Saturn is sextile in Pluto. Yes? And so if Saturn is sextile in Pluto, it means that those structural changes are receiving a support from the planet of transformation, from the core of something. So let's say you have problem with taxation. Well, the situation for the states and bureaucracy in general is changing from the core now. So you might not have such big problem as you think. The situation, let's say it is, no, I'm not going, it's too dark jokes around this. But let's say I don't know, let's say you have difficult with certification, to do certain certification, and then Pluto is changing the way that studies are done, and now you can do it online. Okay, you don't have to go to see someone, you can do it online. You can't stand the bureaucracy, you can't stand this, you can't stand that, and suddenly you don't need that much bureaucracy. Okay, Pluto changes something from the core in the structure, and for you are a Pluto Scorpio, so Pluto in the middle phase of Scorpio. This is something that is either deeply psychological, or really transformation from the core. Scorpio themes are to do with transformation. They are the change underneath the vengeance. Okay, so a Scorpio can get pissed, but this is the type of pissed that would up jump their career, up jump their life, transform their life. Okay, these guys, whatever you have in Scorpio, if it's what you do to Scorpio, they are going to come out stronger. You try, yes. Even don't try to kill a Scorpio. Okay, Saint 22 Mars retrograde in Scorpio. Okay, if you don't. Great teaching is, if you try to kill Scorpio, do it dead with dignity, because they are going to bring it back to you. You're going to die in the same way you try to kill them. So make sure it at least with no suffering. So that is a very Scorpio saying. And it's true. When it comes to Pluto Scorpio, it can be, of course, the usual execration, taboo, sexual taboo, energy, alchemy, occult, hidden knowledge, witchcraft. Okay, and here again you are required to go all the way deep. It's not enough to scratch the surface, Pluto, but authenticity is going to be useful around that. The Saturn sextile Pluto, to have it in your natal chart, is blessing relative to the people that don't have it, because we go through both Saturn square in your natal Pluto and Pluto square in your natal Saturn in life. Most of us go through this. And that just means that you have your inner sextile, your inner harmonic aspect to tap into. You know the energy of Pluto and Saturn can work together. They don't have to be a crisis. So you can have this as remediation. For example, my Pluto will in a decade be perfecting its square to Saturn, the natal Saturn. And that just means that you guys provide with the sextile, okay, with the sextile energy. And your Saturn sextile my Saturn. So that is one thing you have going for you. You have a certain willingness to face your fears, to change something from the core. You're not afraid of anything. Okay, it doesn't mean that you're not afraid, but you have the courage to tend into it, and to tend into it authentically, more easily, and it's done for you in a way that is more easy than the square. Okay, the Saturn square Pluto, the Saturn opposition Pluto. So also as per generational things. So let's say your parents, they were born with the Saturn opposition or the Saturn square, and you think, oh my God, this is going to happen. What happened with my parents, my this, my that. To some extent, yes, but you're going to go through it more smoothly because you have the sextile and not the square. Okay? And it doesn't mean that it's easy. It just means that it is more accessible than the hard aspect. Saturn conjunct Neptune is hard aspect. And that is to be kept in mind. Okay, that this is so. Any more advice I can give to you around this? So your Uranus is somewhere, I think, in between the end of Sag to anywhere around Capricorn, or the beginning of Capricorn, end of Sag, beginning of Capricorn. Is not particularly triggered unless you are lucky enough to have Uranus, Saturn, Neptune conjunction. And that would be, I think, the 88s more. And this is meaning that Uranus is also going to be involved in a hard aspect when Saturn sextiles your Uranus. It's already happened, very likely, but is still in progress. And that tells me that if you haven't already gone through this, because Saturn was already in the beginning of Pisces, then this is, again, it's a sextile from Saturn, transiting Saturn to Uranus, but because of the opposition with your natal Saturn, there's a bit of a revolution in your life. So there can be a revolt in the organization you're working with or in the society you're involved with. Okay? And that can add another flare of stress, but also what is Uranus about? It's a Kundalini energy. What is Kundalini energy? Simply put, the type of sex that is mind-blowing sex. Okay, when we say sex is spiritual, we basically mean mind-blowing sex. And you understand that after that you are completely changed. And this is true. It's very true because it unlocks all the energy centers in your body. It aligns everything. It's a burst of creative energy, birthing energy. It's the "it's just happened" planet. And what it's doing is more than about sexuality, is that while you're having what makes for such mind-blowing sex is when you're doing something creative, where you meet a side of yourself, where you express yourself in a new way in the world, when you encounter certain facets in the world that are completely exciting and revivifying of your day-to-day routine, when you are facing your fears suddenly and something good happens from that. This is Uranus. And that might be both assisting, but it can also be assisting what seems to be like your downfall. So yes, let's say it's your 7th house. So let's say the fact that you have been having, I don't know, non-monogamous relationship in your society, and even if you own that, is not going to be so assisting for you when you need to tend to a religious dispute, okay, to prove yourself to sit in front of someone religious, and then you have to give them I don't know, or you want to have the papers for your marriage or something like this. So that can be an issue. Religion can also be an issue because the sextile is from Pisces. And so it can be feeling like an excess or extra hurdle to tend to in your life right now. It's like, not only do I have this, then this comes in. But the this that comes in is actually benefiting the that comes in. Okay? For example, if I give a very harsh ass example, when I was writing my Saturn, I was trying to look for like actual therapy. And not only did I had what I had in academia, then my therapist was a part of the cult. And that completely disrupted my life in every way possible. But it also made me very aware of the structure and how does the structure operates both in academia and army and in the medical field. And I will tell you, I will finish with one story. And I was writing Sugar-Free Lemonade in 2017. Then I could write everything. I could write everything of everything and a little bit insinuation of the core. Everything was okay. But then in a big group, I published something that was a sketch of the satire that was happening in the army. I was blocked from this group, and two police people came looking for me because I was alone at that place. I had to tell them, you know what, take me to hospital. Let them see how it affected me badly, what happened to me. And what I didn't know, and only now I know to connect, is that in the army, if you disobey legal order, you find yourself in hospital. You understand? So this is what happened to me. It's just that I was not resistant. I was like, take me to hospital. Yes, let them see what trouble they made me, and so on. Because it's good for you legally, right? And so I did not know this, so I could speak about everything. But then, when I mentioned army, they thought I am what they say, a break in the silence. But they didn't tell me that. And I didn't understand this because I said I wrote nothing. Yes. I said, what are you waiting for? A person to kill themselves? They said, is it me? I said, and I could tell them, no, it's not me. Yes, but I was saying that because this is crazy what's going on. What the story exposed with this crisis, this extras, not only this happened, that this happened, is that, wait, I can talk about sexual harassment, I can talk about cultish programming, I can talk about gaslighting, I can talk about intergenerational. The minute I say army, woo! Everybody. So now I know if you're an ethical hacker, so now I know. You're going to have not something as drastic, hopefully, but you're going to understand how the system ticks in a way that you didn't understand before. For example, Trump is learning a hard lesson that what we all know is that if you want to catch someone, catch them not on the offense that they did, but try to find if there's something wrong with the taxes. Because that he sexually violated someone, no problem, you give money, it's no problem. But if you evade taxation, for that you're guilty. So everybody knows this. Trump learned this the hard way. Is this correct? Is this ethical? Is our problem? What is the bigger problem? That he sexually harassed someone, okay? Or that he did tax evasion? Of course that he sexually harassed someone. It's a human being. Taxation is resources and they print money. It's no big deal. It doesn't account, when they print money, it doesn't account on, it's not on any of our account because they print money. Okay? This is what you have to understand. It's important. Yes, but the problem is that he was sexually violating yes, a woman that was in no power to resist him, not in a sexual erotic way, but in her no was not respected, and she had no powers to say no, for it will be respected. So this is wrong. It's abuse of power. It shouldn't be. And he said, okay, I will pay her some and some money, but he did tax evasion because it's what he usually does. And so he buried his wife in a park lot because there's no taxation for this, so it's not, yeah. But this time they caught him for taxation. What we, the people, learned from that is that to sexually harass someone, you can shush it with money, but just don't do anything with taxes. Yes, is you learn of how the system ticks, of the and something like this I predict will happen to you. And you want to see the juristic process around this, because the juristic system is also changing. Okay? For you, more than others, is important to watch both the Trump trial, the trial for Gideon van Meeren. I will try to contact the FAA to give English translation, because I think it will be interesting for English speakers as well, and to give translation in other language if they have, because I think this trial matters to more the Netherlands. And I will try my luck if they get it translated. This is very important trial where a person who resisted and resisted satanic ritual abuse, all these things. He said no politician would do it, he does it. And he was put in 9-hour trial for this, because he said that people should resist by force any attempts to overtake Netherlands, okay, by the WHO, which is reasonable. Yes, John Locke, not classic political thinking from which our policies are based on, and the understanding that an organization loses its monopoly, its legitimacy over the monopoly of power when they are oppressive, is very important. And it's basic, and it's classic political thinking, Western political thinking. Okay, it's not even something that challenges the discourse. It's the foundation of our Western society. And he says this: people should resist, even if they should go to the parliament physically. And they compared him to Trump. It was a completely different case. For Trump was said, if I'm not elected, it will be a bloodbath. Okay, it's different. What he said is not if I'm not elected, but if WHO takes on, that infiltrates our democracy, then we must do something by all means necessary. We must do something because indeed these guys mean to legalize pedophilia and child trafficking and whatnot, and all the things that they do in black. Now they want to do it for legally. And have no sovereignty for the people over their bodies and stuff like that. 9 hours he was put on trial and was not even allowed to finish to speak. So I will try to contact the party for if they want to offer it with translation, because I think it's very important for humanity to watch this. But for you, if you are Fifth generation, very important for you to watch this. Another thing is important for you to know: the changes with the WHO, the WEF, who will be for right now. They chose an Israeli doctor for head of WHO. Now, why does it matter? Because WHO is a structure, Saturn, of health, Pisces, and is world health, Neptune. Okay, a viral medical warfare thing that should be abolished, but this exists. And so for you it's very important to know the changes, what's going on there, especially if you're Israeli. Okay, this might be personally affecting you. People might, if it's your 10th house, your image, your midheaven, people are going to see you different. I denounced it the minute I saw it. Immediately I said denounced it. Even if it was obvious now, I denounced this, and commemorate the doctors that were assassinated, that were fired, that were threatened, that were themselves put in forced hospitalization in the process of the making of that type of thing. And of course, they would put Israeli doctor because they wanted to point the fire at Israel. That was a rat lab of Pfizer. But for you, it might affect you. Okay, this decision, this person, this organization, it might affect you more so than others because of this Saturn maturation. The part of your Saturn maturation, what seems to be like a loss will likely to benefit you later. Sometimes it's better to lose a battle but to win the war. Okay, so this is very important because it's learning to pick your battles, but you also learn of how the system works. Yes. And there are certain things that just knowing them can center you and adjust your expectation of a mature expectation. And because Uranus is also involved for you, I want to bring in another book, which is L'Ombre Belle by Albert Camus. And this is a book that deals with basically revolutions, okay? Revolutions, the man who rebels, the woman who rebels, and it talks about the young people having the energy to rebel, but the old people having the wisdom but not the energy. Okay, so you want to be in contact with people older than you that would tell you of their life experience so that you have the energy to execute, right? Because there are people not always having older people not always having the energy to execute, or you might be in a certain position. Okay, when I was approaching my maturation of a Saturn, I was already first degree, almost second degree, with my thesis in philosophy of medicine before COVID. Yes, and I didn't know COVID is coming. And from this position where I was at, and I was a TA of 3 courses and so on, from this position I wrote Sugar-Free Lemonade. Yes, right now I'm not in academia, I cannot do this. But you have to listen what people like me say, because we're the veterans of these revolutions. Okay, we did our thing when we are youth, but the things I didn't know back then, okay, that now I do know. And now you are the age, you are the age of the youth of the revolution for your Saturn maturation. And you still get, with Uranus, you are doing a certain revolution for your Saturn maturation. So Gideon van Meyer is a great example for this. Completely surprising, refreshing. It took me some time still learning about how about. And I also want you to understand the context for now, which is Ketu and Libra. My video on heuristics is going to be very relevant for you, both the What Expands Upon Kill in episode 7, but also the last episode is going to be incredibly relevant for you. What else is there? Yeah. So you're being you want to see where you're being asked to hold accountable for something you really need to be accountable of, and where you're being asked to hold accountable in a way that is washing off accountability. Okay, where taking responsibility for your actions is actually a gaslighting used against you. And where you have the right to not consent. This is important, especially in your legal matters, health matters, and where taxation involves medical welfare. You might have to stand, to stand your ground, as we all do. So I hope this was useful. Naturally, depending on what personal planets you have and where, because it's a couple of years, that will change the way you experience this, okay? If let's say your moon is oppositing Neptune, there would be emotional upheaval. If your Mars is sextile Saturn, and yes, it's either conjuncting Pluto, as would be one way, or the other way would be more difficult because it's a hard aspect with Pluto. But if that happens, then there is an aggressive action coming to the foreground to deal with, action, passion, drive, yes, but also aggression. And you have to assert yourself in a way that is Martian. So it's another thing coming into play. So there is context, there is still a lot of details to uncover. Because your Plutos are opposing my Sun, then it's creating kind of like a power struggle. So I don't think I'm compatible to give you like astrological consultation beyond this video. I just think yes, would just be us trying to have ego war more than having good conversation. Although maybe if we focus on the Neptune, then it can alleviate this. So I'm not going to outrule, okay, a reading, for which case you want to describe to me your situation, okay? If it's situation involved legal, involve money, you want to understand that I'm not consultation that is in any way legal or financial or, okay, for the sake of astrological advice, as only my head as astrologer, yes, and even if I say something can connect with something, it is yes, it's not the consultation is of astrology and not of other things. That's important for you to understand. Yes. So I know that I'm a person that knows a lot about a lot, but it's not that I have the certification of this, certification of that. So you need to understand who you're talking to and what the conditions. And so I don't rule this out. Just we will be aware, see if it works, if it doesn't work. Another thing is, yes, if it's something involving, let's say, your finances or liquidity, and there is a problem with money, but you're doing a certain social activism, you're doing something for society right now, because they cannot save your life, right? But if it's something that you're doing and you're trying to give value to society and you want to consult with me on the basis of L'Homme Rebelle, okay? If it's like you're a veteran, you did rebellion, what I want to hear from you. We probably are very likely not to agree on anything because I have to learn from you, have to learn from me. But this is the point of this conversation. Then I'm available, okay? I'm available for you. And yes, you want to, okay, contact me. My email is madetolovemagic1@gmail.com, or you can write me here as comment. Sometimes shows the comment, sometimes not, but email I think is safer. And then we can find a way where we can speak, maybe Zoom call or so. And for that, yes, what I would need to see is your birth chart. It means your birth time and location. So birth date, location, and approximate time. If you have birth certificate, that would be good. I don't do rectification. So yes, you want to take this into account. And yes, if it's possible for you to contribute for me, then yes, I would also like to have food until the end of the month. But if you're not able to do so and you are yourself, like don't know how will you eat and so on, then I will not charge you, but I will, yes, expect dividends for when you are successful, that I'm also not suffering from that. Yes, so I have within your means, within your ability to assist, just like fairness, that is how I see it. I think it's the type of consultations that I can give right now. If it's more like personal consultation, again, we have to take into account that my sun is opposing your Pluto. So I don't want to either of us to have a bitter experience. And so, yes, we can try. And if we see something that's going like not vibing, then this is okay. So for this, yes, it really depends on what the situation. Okay, it's like if you can support me financially is okay. If it's something that you're in a financial crisis, which can happen with Saturn, then I'm not going to be addition to your financial crisis. It's not the point of this. So that's my email, made2lovemagic1@gmail.com. I believe this is also my PayPal. So that is true. And if we talk about taxation, then I will be able to write you an email that I've received your payment. Yes, because right now I'm going through a lot with my business and I have no idea for international taxation. So it's just being, yes, authentic and honest. But I also want to be compensated when possible. So if you needed like a certificate for like your business or something like that, then I don't know, I just can write that I received your money, because it's in the in-between stage of when you change your business, then you're allowed to do so legally in my country, just to write certificate and then work on the taxation. So yeah, full price in reading, I think it's going to be more expensive than anything you've ever seen before, because my model is free of corruption. It means that I need to budget for this, and I need to also budget for my contribution to the world. So if you want like a proper, fully budgeted, then I would need to hear from you, why would you want to do it other than investing in me? Because it's not like anything you have ever seen. Enough with this starving artists, starving astrologers, starving people, depending on certification. They have to sell body organs to get it, and then being executed by your group, even if you do belong to the cult. Enough with that. And then I don't know what will be the coin, what will be this, what will be that. So it's not just about it's expensive or not expensive. It's just that the whole resource modeling is different, and I will need to myself think what do I ask in return. So yes, that is Saturn maturation for the Saturn Capricorns. Share a vision. And basically, I think you got a lot good coming for you. I mean, Saturn right now is not doing anything particularly drastic. It's about to conjunct Neptune. It will take a while before it does. And it is right when you finish your sextile that it happens. So this would be kind of like the final unravelment or a disillusionment. It can be experienced as a breaking of a dream, but those things lead you to honor your longings and manifest your dreams authentically yours. So I'll see you in another video. Bye bye.